I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Russia-Ukraine war at a glance. What we know on day 349 of the invasion. Intense fighting continues in eastern city of Bakhmut. EU preparing for potential visit by Zelensky to Brussels on Thursday. Ukraine has released extraordinary video footage that appears to show Russian fighters dragging their badly wounded commander away from the battlefield, and then beating him violently with what appear to be shovels. A Ukrainian drone captured the incident near the eastern city of Bakhmut, where intense fighting has been raging for months. Russia almost certainly now lacks the munitions and maneuver units required for successful offensives, the UK Ministry of Defence says. Moscow will continue to demand sweeping advances, but it remains unlikely that Russia can build up the forces needed to substantially affect the outcome of the war in the coming weeks, according to the MOD's latest intelligence update. Ukraine's parliament has approved the appointment of Ihor Klimenko as the country's new Interior Affairs Minister and Vasily Malyuk as the new head of the country's security services, known as the SBU. Klimenko, formerly Ukraine's national police chief, was serving as acting interior minister after the former minister, Denis Monastyrsky, was killed last month in a helicopter crash on the outskirts of Kyiv. Ukraine's President, Volodymyr Zelensky, said personnel changes on the border and frontline will bolster Ukraine's military efforts amid uncertainty over the future of his defense minister. "We are bolstering our managerial positions," Zelensky said in his Monday evening address. "In a number of regions, particularly those on the border or on the front line, we will appoint leaders with military experience. Those who can show themselves to be the most effective in defending against existing threats," he said. Recriminations have broken out among EU officials after a possible visit by Ukraine's President, Volodymyr Zelensky, to Brussels was leaked, raising concerns over his security. Zelensky was reported to be planning a trip to Brussels this Thursday to meet EU leaders in person at a summit and address the European Parliament in an extraordinary session. The European Council chief, Charles Michel, has invited Zelensky to take part in a future summit of the 27 EU nations, his spokesperson said Monday. Loud explosions have been reported in the Russian-occupied city of Mariupol in southern Ukraine, according to Petro Andriushenko, an advisor to the exiled city's mayor. 5 loud explosions in a row in the Primorsky district of Mariupol. "Our people report that they rang out in the seaport area," he posted to social media. Ukraine's top national security official, Oleksiy Danilov, has said he is confident that his country will eventually receive American-made F-16 fighter jets. "It was only a matter of time before Kyiv gets the F-16s, Danilov, Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, told CNN. He also suggested Ukraine may be capable of striking Russian on its own territory, beyond occupied Ukraine. Russia's defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, has warned that Western arms supplies to Ukraine are effectively dragging NATO into the conflict and that could lead to an unpredictable level of escalation. In remarks during a conference call with military officials, quoted by state-owned TASS news agency, Shoigu accused the US and its allies of trying to prolong the conflict as much as possible by supplying Kyiv with what he described as heavy offensive weapons. Weeks of intense fighting continued to rage around the city of Bakhmut and the nearby towns of Soledar and Vuhledar, Ukraine's presidential office said. Ukraine said on Monday evening that Russian forces had trained tank, mortar and artillery fire in Bakhmut in the past 24 hours. The UK's Ministry of Defence said Russia was continuing to make small advances in its efforts to encircle Bakhmut. While multiple alternative cross-country supply routes remain available to Ukrainian forces, Bakhmut is increasingly isolated, the ministry said on Twitter.